Besides, you're saying it wrong. It's Leviosa, not Leviosa.
Let's get you out of here, Buzz.
Don't you get it? You see the hat? I am Mrs. Nesbit. Snap out of it, Buzz.
Look what I got. I got a jar of dirt. I got a jar of dirt. And guess what's inside it?
Taking my life, Usul. It is the only way.
I'm pointing the way.
I've really got to get you out of those clothes
Excuse me?
and into a black dress. Tell me, Doctor, do you like the circus?
Welcome back to another episode of Get a Load of This Movie, a franchise movie podcast where we talk about movies that are a part of a franchise. And this week, we are doing not that. We are doing something a little bit differently. We are breaking our one rule. We gave ourselves
We do that a lot,
one
honestly.
rule when we made this podcast, and we decided this week that it doesn't really matter. You know,
We've been doing that pretty consistently this year alone. I mean, we got
and-
Stranger Things,
yeah, we have a
Field
lot.
of Dreams.
Well, that's more of a anniversary. But who is breaking these rules? My name is Corey. I am your trusty guide during this podcast, and I am joined by fill in the blank here. Say your
hey,
names.
what's up? I'm Cole.
And I'm Zach.
We are Get a Load of This Movie, a franchise movie podcast. But again, we broke that rule this week. So what are we covering? We are getting ready for Steven Spielberg to release another Alien movie with Disclosure Day. And to get ready for that, we're going to cover some Steven Spielberg Alien movies, starting with Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Cole, I hate to tell you this, but this movie is not streaming anywhere.
It isn't. You know how I watched this?
How did you watch it?
I just had a feeling at one point my father bought this on DVD, not Blu-ray, DVD. So I went over to my DVD shelf and lo and behold, there it was.
There you go. I had to rent it.
Lost media there, boys.
Is it? But you have it.
Or
Zach,
physical media. Sorry.
Zach, did you have to rent this one?
I did. I would
Yeah.
rather be like shot in the face than have to watch this on anything less than HD. That's my take.
Whoa, strong words from Zach. But
That's tough talk right there. Tough talk.
It is tough
It
talk.
is tough talk. It is tough talk. I had not seen this movie before, so I'm actually really excited to talk about it. This was one that's been on the list for a while. I believe we have a little bit of a go-around question that I'm going to assume Cole put in. Is that right? Zach, what is your go-around question for the group?
It's an easy question to think of, but honestly, but it's a big question. It's one that's probably been asked to every single person on this earth at one point in time.
Yes.
Do you
I asked my
believe-
nieces this last week. So.
Right. And I'm sure they had a great opinion on it. Do you believe in aliens?
I think it's more important that aliens believe in themselves. No, just that's a reference from a movie. I'm sorry. I believe in aliens. I think it's hard to not believe in aliens, and anyone who doesn't believe in aliens might be a big dumb.
Get your head out of the sand. Get your head out of the sand, you
Just
ostrich.
wake up. Cole, do you believe in aliens?
Of course, yeah.
You do?
There's got to be something out there. I mean, we cannot be the only intelligent life in the universe. If we were, that'd kind of be depressing.
You know what would be crazy though? If we were the only intelligent life and we were like the first ones that actually became like sentient in the universe, like, do you know how crazy that would be if we were like the first ones?
We are the main
Like, that
characters.
means we're gonna like, what?
So we are the main characters.
Well, but
That's
that
for
would mean
sure.
like we are setting the tone for everyone else, because everyone else is eventually going to catch up, but we're going to be like leading the charge, which is crazy. I think that's insane. But I also don't think that's real.
Well, here's the thing. If there are aliens out there, and then the second question, the second big question is, do you believe in like UFOs? Like, they've found us. Like, I don't know if we found aliens on other planets. It doesn't seem so. If we have, it's not public knowledge. What has been kind of confirmed, and kind of, even though it's been confirmed, people just like, I guess I care less than I thought I would. Is that like aliens have been around here? Like,
Didn't
by
they
like, didn't
show-
Obama was like, yeah, they're aliens. It was just like,
No,
Dude, look it up. Look it up. Yeah, wasn't it? Yeah. Yeah. It was like a couple months ago. What did he say? I'm pretty sure he did. I watched the clip. I think you're just you and my dad both just like rejecting what you hear and see with your eyes and ears just because it's like that crazy.
No,
But yeah, I do think
'cause
aliens have been around here. I actually do think that. I do think aliens have made contact with Earth in some form. I don't know if they're living among us like Men in Black. That's a little bit of a stretch. But I think they might be, we might have them somewhere, or at least some spacecraft or something.
They showed a like an alien. They brought out a body of an alien body into like the Mexico government chambers or something during like a hearing or something, and they showed like an actual alien body. Cole, look that up. I'm almost positive though.
I mean, there's the famed crash in Roswell. That's what.
Yeah, we talked about that. I'm sorry. But like if an alien looked like that and came down, I think I would believe it more than like tiny green men as we seen at the end of this movie. And that's what they pulled out.
They weren't green though.
But there was a bunch of different ones, and I do want to talk about that. But so
that's where
I am eager to bring that part up.
I mean, I like to think of it as, they're not like little green men as we kind of view them. They're likely humanoid, some of them, maybe some look different. I think it varies, but I mean, we are in a galaxy. We are in the Milky Way galaxy. That is not to say there are not more galaxies out in the vast space.
Yeah, we know there are.
And who's to say there are not aliens living here now? Because we have mapped more of space than we have of our own ocean.
That wouldn't make them aliens.
Yeah, but they could be like aquatic bros, just chilling down there.
I don't know if that stat you just said is true.
What
stat? We've mapped more of space than we have of the ocean.
Yeah.
There's 0% chance. I'm going to say 0% chance.
We've mapped to Pluto, okay? You realize that, right? Like, we know
percentage-wise. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
We've mapped more area of space
is infinite.
Yeah.
Than we have of our own ocean.
Well,
because you can't
we've mapped more of space than we have of the land. We've mapped more of space than we have of New York City. We've mapped more of space than we have the continental U.S. We have mapped more of space than I have of this room that I'm in. You see what I'm saying? I'm saying it back to you. I'm saying the same thing back to you.
You're saying it back, yeah. And I'm catching you.
Okay.
I moved on from this a long time ago.
I didn't put together a call sheet, so on to the action.
Even the opening scene, there's always some random girl who gets a call that undoubtedly ends up getting her killed. It's also predictable. There's no element of surprise. You can see everything coming. Ah!
Did that surprise you?
Why?
Because you talk too much. Now shut the fuck up and watch the movie.
I texted Corey, I said, I'm scared. And he goes, I got you, baby doll. And he said, no call sheet today.
He didn't do that.
Okay, Corey, now you said you watched this movie, but
I watched this movie
that
twice.
True?
I watched this movie twice.
Now, how long were you on your phone? This is a pre-Netflix era movie, so they didn't tell you what happened in the movie 10 times throughout the movie.
I think that's why I had to watch it twice. Just kidding. No, there's a story behind that one, too.
Okay.
What happened?
Anyway, for those who didn't, 1977, a French scientist investigates mysterious events missing aircraft from Flight 19 that disappeared during World War II and were found abandoned in the desert. Other strange discoveries include the SS Cotopaxi appearing in the unexpected desert location and UFO sightings near Indianapolis. Now, Corey, do you know someone from Indiana? That's a lie. In Indiana, a young boy, Barry Giller, experiences... What?
No, keep going.
Full name?
I I thought it was funny that you gave the 3-year-old's full name, but it's not like a problem because it's fine.
He's a main character. I mean, experiences paranormal activity at home before being stopped by his mother. Electrical lineman Roy Neary. Is it okay that I said the full name there?
He's an adult.
We gotta get through this.
Okay. Encounters a UFO that leaves him physically marked and mentally fixated on the experience. Roy becomes obsessed with a mysterious mountain shape, causing his behavior to deteriorate and his family to leave him. Jillian, Barry's mother, shares the same vision, and later her son Barry is abducted by a UFO. Scientists discovered that UFOs communicate with a 5-tone musical phrase, which leads to coordinates from Devil's Tower. The U.S. Army secretly prepares Devil's Tower as a UFO landing site while evacuating civilians under false pretenses. UFOs arrive in large numbers, including a massive mothership that previously abducted humans and animals, all unharmed and unchanged. The extraterrestrials, ETs if you will, communicate with humans and select Roy to join them, and he boards the mothership as it departs Earth. Now, I want to bring up a question that Zach wrote, because we end the movie with the mothership departing Earth.
No, I don't want to start with this question.
No, wait a minute, Cole. That question was for you guys to read and laugh about. That's not actually a point of discussion.
Here's something that we can start with, and I want to talk about this because I was a little bit confused by this during my second watch, and I think it may have affected my first watch, and I just didn't realize it. Well, I watched it the first time I watched it. I was more taken I don't think I watched it properly the first time because, to be honest, the first time when I watched it wasn't my favorite movie. And I wasn't expecting it to be like the best movie ever made either. But I thought I wanted to give it another chance, and I didn't really take too many notes the first time either. So, but who do you guys think the antagonist of this movie is?
I really don't think it's very clear, because this is one of those alien movies where it's not like they're saying let's kidnap them and experiment on them.
Yeah.
E.T. And, usually in these movies, it's the government. There's a very clear, cut and dry, the government's the villain, the alien's the good guy, or the alien's the villain, and the government's the good guy. I don't really think you really have an antagonist. You really don't. You just have Roy, who is our protagonist, obviously, but I couldn't tell you the antagonist of this movie because there's not anyone really acting dastardly in any way. This is a movie about discovery, and I think that in itself kind of makes it a movie that doesn't really need an antagonist.
Zach, do you have an opinion on the antagonist of this movie?
I think they keep it vague enough about whether or not the aliens will eventually have a sinister motive. They don't really go out of their way to really be like, oh, they're evil, and then it's a fake out later. It's not like that, but we don't really know what the aliens want up until pretty much the end of the movie. So maybe you go into it assuming the aliens will have some ulterior motive, and they're leading Roy on for something worse down the line, and the other people who are drawn to this site. And honestly, the scene where they kidnap the kid, they do kidnap a child. That sequence is, I think, scary. I think that's shot very scary, and I think this movie narratively could have taken a turn to after the first third or first half and become a lot darker and actually kind of almost be a little more similar to War of the Worlds in terms of tone, if not action. But it doesn't, and I think that is actually kind of important by the end of the movie. That this is, I think a lot of the sci-fi movies up until this point, I'm not an expert on old sci-fi movies, but I don't know if there is an old sci-fi movie where aliens actually mean well, they come to Earth with nothing but open peace and oh, we want to share knowledge and meet you and vice versa. I feel it's because there's a tons of sci-fi B movies in the 50s and stuff where it's just aliens invading, and it's they want to hurt you. So I think you're just geared for that going in, and when they're just friendly, I think it's actually, I don't want to go as far to say it's a twist, but it feels different. So I agree with Cole. Long story short, I agree with Cole. I don't think it needs an antagonist.
Yeah.
Maybe the antagonist is just his wife and kids because they're trying to ruin his life
So,
by keeping him from the aliens.
I mean, honestly, he might be the antagonist of that story.
I think
I think so, yeah.
Roy is definitely the villain of his own story. I do love that scene when he's crying at the dinner table. And
I really like that scene.
Son,
I wrote that one
and his
as like
son
one of the best
is
scenes.
like being very empathetic in that moment because he's never seen this happen to his dad. And then later, when Roy is in the shower, basically taking a steam bath for God knows what, cry baby, cry baby, cry baby.
That was I wrote down the dinner table scene with him and then the kids breaking down. I thought that was a really good scene. It was very effective. But I wanted to talk the antagonist of it all. I had because in the first watch I couldn't really tell, and so I came up with a little bit of a theory that I want to run by you guys. Looking at this and trying to come up with an antagonist, really couldn't come up with like an overall antagonist. But then you look at it and you have three main storylines. You have Jillian's story, who it's kind of Jillian and Barry, who are kind of going through this horror story. You know, she's losing her child. There's this unknown like alien coming down and like terrorizing their house, you know, and all she's doing is trying to fight and find her child. So I would say the aliens are probably the antagonist of that story specifically, kind of going back to your point, Zach. But then you have the government, right? And the government is like, it's more of like a mystery movie when it comes to like the government storyline and the French, because I assume that he's kind of with the U.S. government at that, like they kind of have the military and everything. But it's like a mystery, and like the unknown is the antagonist. And they're trying to put pieces together, almost like, no, not really. I was going to say kind of closer to Arrival type of a storyline.
It is. I mean,
with
this
the government.
is very close to Arrival overall.
Yeah,
I'd say Arrival's very close to this.
Okay.
Yeah. What is
obviously? I'm not saying. Okay.
Cole, I don't know. Let me give you this all the way up on your high horse. Can you reach down this far? You're kind of really high up there. But then you have Roy, and I think he's more on like an action adventure movie. Like I think the antagonist would probably be the government trying to slow him down, doing all and like the people around him trying to slow him down. Because if you just have Roy, he's a very like, oh my gosh, like we have to figure this out, we have to do this, and he's on like he's trying to just find them, you know, and like the aliens aren't the antagonist, but like the people getting in his way are. So you could almost break this down into three different stories, and they all have a very unique tone, and they're all kind of mixing together, and each one of them has their own antagonist. But like as we know, the aliens are not the antagonist of the other two. Like they're almost the goal at the end, like the light at the end of the tunnel for Roy's story, you know, and they're like the answer to the government story. But for like Roy, the government is probably the antagonist, and that's like, as we've seen from the government, they're not trying to stop, like they're honestly trying to do, from what I could see, trying to do the best to protect people, and like say we have to clear people out, like they're not even killing anyone, they're just like they release sleeping gas for animals. Like I don't know, I
thought they killed those animals.
I thought they did too, but it's not like it wasn't like humane or was super humane. I was just saying, like, I think the government, from like another perspective besides Roy's, from their storyline, isn't the antagonist of the story. So I think if you break it down like that, you kind of get the different antagonists and the different themes and genres of this movie that all kind of mesh together.
Yeah, and I would say there is a trope that I think Spielberg just completely avoided when writing these government characters, which is like the villainous government guy, you know? You can have this room full of nice scientists, but then there's the one rich guy who just wants to rub his hands together like this.
We sell the aliens. If we kidnap the aliens and we sell them to the highest bidder.
You guys
use them
know,
in the military.
You know what I'm talking
Their
about.
ships are made of unobtainium.
It's kind of a common trope. I mean, even in old classic sci-fi. So I think that this movie really benefits from having, you know, Bob Balaban, who's a classically like funny actor.
The way that
as I know him now, that's his actual name. But you have these guys that are incredibly like likable, who just want to like know stuff. And I think kind of taking out the role of a villain increases the chance of like, it's more of a race against time for who's going to discover them first. Does that
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I mean,
That's
it's also.
that's
Yeah, honestly, I think that's a good read, Cole. I think Corey, I think you had a good point when you were talking about like the mix of tones and genres with the stories, because I think one thing that really stands out to me,
so complimentary.
the thing that really stands out to me in this is how this has the Spielberg wonder and awe thing that we talked about with like Jurassic Park and stuff and Jaws.
Yes.
I mean, he's maybe the best at it. You know, that's not like a hot take. You were talking about Steven Spielberg, but what's different here compared to like even Jurassic Park, which I think is a movie made for adults and kids. Like kids can watch it and be at a certain age, probably shouldn't, like, 5 and under, probably not, but like 5 and up, you can watch it and you'll be scared, but kids will enjoy it. There's enough there for kids to be into it. I think I tried to watch this as like a 9-year-old and was bored to tears. I think this movie, even though it doesn't have like an edge, like where it's like, it's not like bloody.
Cried.
I didn't cry. No, well, no, I was just bored. I was just bored with counters. This is not. My point is, this is not a movie made for young children. This is a movie. This is a movie made for adults, even though it's not like, they're not dropping F-bombs and there's not like violence and bloodshed. It's just a tame movie, but it's written for adults, which is so unique because it's the type of movie we really don't get a lot of now. And even Spielberg himself doesn't really make movies like this, I think, anymore. Well, I guess Fableman's actually might be the closest.
That was
to this
wasn't
type of
that
thing.
R-rated?
I don't think so.
No.
I'm either way. My point, but even then, that's a grounded drama, family drama.
Yeah.
This is still a sci-fi movie, so it's just really interesting in that because I mean, we are watching Roy destroy his life. I mean, and that the scenes, it is hard to watch. You brought up that dinner scene. I agree, it's incredible where he's doing the mashed potato scene. That is not a scene that lands as well as a child, probably, because you're just not picking up on the weight of what's really happening, what his family is witnessing there. That shot of him molding these mashed potatoes and his son in the background, split diopter shot so they're both in focus, and the son like crying because he is realizing his dad is Cocoa
insane.
Bananas.
Yeah.
His dad is Cocoa Bananas.
I mean, Roy wasn't the most stable guy. What's he say to the one son who's beaten on the thing? He goes, "You are close to death."
Well, that's just dad banter, Like this is actually watching your dad, and then the way
Sob.
he realizes that he's off, and that line that really stuck with me is, I guess you've like it's not exactly this because I didn't write it down, but it's like, I guess you guys have realized something's wrong with dad, and it's just like that is like such a sad line in this movie, and it is a really hard to watch scene, but it's really well done. And my point is, though, it's just like this is a movie made strictly for adults, and it's about this adult going through this childlike wonder thing and abandoning his family for it. We can talk about the ethics of that. But like he is completely obsessed with chasing this. Like that's why we have this "When You Wish Upon a Star" motif with like the little Pinocchio Mickey Mouse character, like figurine. I don't remember what it is, but I feel like it shows up at least twice. Like it's just like he's left wanting to know more. He needs something more extraordinary in his life than what he has right now. And I think that's something that a kid's just not really going to be understand from an adult's perspective.
No.
It's that line from The Incredibles when the kid's in the driveway and Bob's just like, "What are you waiting for?" And he goes, "Something amazing, I guess." It's this
is an essay to be written comparing Bob Parr to Roy, perhaps.
Well, it's this great like metaphor about how like Roy is trapped in this monotony. His biggest problem at the beginning of the movie is convincing his sons to go see Peter Pan because he doesn't want to take, or Pinocchio, yeah, because he doesn't want to take them mini golfing because he knows he's going to be stuck in line with them as they miss shot after shot after shot.
I wish we would have gotten a little bit more time with Roy before he would have had the encounter. Because
close encounter.
Well, because like we talk about the monotony of life, but like that first moment with him and his kids that we really get to see some like the character with him. He doesn't really look like he's tired or stuck. Like he's playing with his train set. Like it looks like he's having a good time. His kid is right there next to him and like taking
Kind of a childlike thing to do, though. I mean, I'm not saying adults can't have hobbies, but I'm saying it does play into like he is still kind of chasing that childlike wonder thing.
Yes, but like there's a difference between chasing that childlike wonder and getting a character to make that step onto the spaceship. You know, like I feel like we needed a little bit more time with Roy to really understand who he was before this thing really changed him, because I feel like any time that you had after that big encounter with after the big encounter with the spaceship,
Close encounter.
like you can't really take that too much to what his overall personality is, because like you have to accept that he was changed by it, which I think they do a good job explaining that he was changed. You know, I think the wife, family, everyone does a really good job saying like, this is insane. Like what you're doing right now isn't crazy. And she had a line, she was like, I think I'm handling this very well. And I wrote down, I was like, she is handling this well. Like she handled it well, longer than anyone probably should have.
Got out when she had to get out. That was past the line what he was doing during. And that scene's also, I mean, it's funny, but it's hard to watch. It is hard to watch.
I was watching this with my roommate, and he was like, he was like, he's deranged. That was, and then I go, yeah, Dom, if you did this, I'd evict you. I think that's very logical, and her eviction was of their marriage. She evicted Roy from their marriage, and
it's just, I think we needed a little bit more with him. That's the thesis of it. I don't think there was anything bad with him. I just think like to make him not really like turn back once his kids and his wife had left him, and he's just like, well, now they're gone. Now I can fully focus on what I'm trying to do. Like, thank God. But it doesn't even look like that's
my life.
Yeah, but it doesn't even look like that's his goal when they are there, because he's about to like. He's like, kids, come on, help me. Like, this will be great. It's bonding, you know? And the kid's like, can we throw dirt in my room next? And he goes, sure. You know, he's having a good time. And it's like,
I think if they were in on it with him, he would have included them at every step of the way. And he would have, I think in his perfect world, they all wanted to go out to Devil's whatever tower. Is it Devil's Tower? Is that what it's called?
Devil's Peak, I think.
Devil's Peak, sure. Whenever
Devil's Tower.
Oh, so I was right. All right. Either way, if they all wanted to go out, I'm sure he would have loved to make a little road trip, you know, and get past the government, you know, quarantine and into the nerve gas. He would have loved that. That would have been his perfect family outing. But I mean, they're just, you know, suitably. I mean, the mom, you know, she hides the newspaper articles, right? Doesn't she? Like she knows that this obsession is probably not for the best. And you know, and she was right, because it leads that scene where he gets fired is over the phone, like, and it's her on the phone.
Her. Yeah, she's like, but he didn't do anything.
That scene, and then that's like the one scene that we're watching from the kid's perspective, watching like overhearing a parent conversation like that as a kid, and that's what's, you know, Spielberg sticks with the kids' faces, listening to that phone conversation. Like, it's brutal. And that's what I'm saying, though, is that this is a movie for adults, because that's really the only scene that we watch from a kid's perspective. But even then, it still works, because, like, as if you are a parent, that's probably your worst fear about getting fired is, how is this going to affect my kids and their future?
Yeah.
So, like, even then, even though it's from the kid's perspective, it still plays toward, like, the adult thing.
They really do not seem to be worried about these kids too much when they're having these arguments and these big life events. Like, he is screaming at his dad, like, cry baby, cry baby, cry baby. And she's like, you get out of here. Get out of here. You know,
that's an American household for you, man. You yell in front of them kids.
I understand she's going through it a lot too, you know, but I feel like that she jumped to get out of here so fast. I was like, but she's got a lot going on. So I'm not going to say that was bad, but it's like, just that's just a focal point that I could say, like, they've really didn't, I don't know, they didn't really seem to mind these kids. That kid is beating up a doll and getting its head and arms knocked off.
You
and they're
are
just
close to death.
Yeah, and they're just, I don't know, these kids don't
So
matter.
we've all seen movies that are like about obsession, and usually, and there might be, you know, I'm sure there's an example that, like, but the exception proves the rule is also another thing. And I feel like this is the exception. Most movies that are about obsession, where your main character is obsessed with something and striving for something, and just like, no matter what, usually it's not good job by the end of the movie. Usually it's like, obsession will not lead you to happiness. Like, that's That's usually the message.
Yeah, you're going like to prison. You know, it's
Black Swan,
Whiplash.
Whiplash,
Oh.
big one. That was a big one I was thinking about. I think. But here's the thing, Marty Supreme as well, but Marty Supreme has a different sort of ending. I'm not going to spoil it. But either way, the obsession is not vindicated by the end of Marty Supreme. It's the vague comment I'll make about that. But it's still a really interesting ending they do there. But I just think this might be the only obsession movie that's definitely about obsession. You know, it's it's an alien movie, but obsession is at its core.
Mhm.
Where honestly, by the end, it kind of rewards it. I mean, this is what he
Roy
wanted,
gets to
and there
go
is
where
no
he wants
sign,
to go.
and there is no sign of regret. The movie doesn't go on long enough. Maybe he will one day, but this just makes it really seem like at the end of the day, this is what was most important to him, and this is the opportunity. This is exactly what he's been looking for, even before he encountered aliens to begin with. This is what was missing from his life. This complete unknown that he's diving headfirst into. So I'm wondering, do you guys have any thoughts on that? Do you guys think this movie improves if we got some sort of regret from him, maybe on the ship? I don't know if I want to see the ship. I know that in the special, one of the editions, there's like 3 versions of this movie. In one of them, you do see a scene on the ship. I haven't watched it. I heard Spielberg does not like it. So it's like in the special edition, it's not in the director's cut, I believe. But I don't think I want to see the ship. Whatever it is, it's not going to live up to the expectations in my head.
See,
but I don't know. Do you want to pay off with the family? Is my question.
I don't think I need to pay off with the family, just because it's really not about Roy's family, which is kind of weird to say, because it's this guy who throws it all away to chase after this being from another world. But at the same time, it's like, yeah, I'm kind of okay with it ending, and I don't really know what happens to his sons and his wife, because my assumption is just getting away from him was the best thing they could have done.
Yeah, they had a happy ending.
That
He's
was
gone.
their
Win-win for everybody. Everybody got a happy ending. Everyone got what they wanted at the end of this week.
No, I think it kind of goes back to how I was saying I needed another scene with Roy before the alien encounter. I don't think I necessarily needed another scene at the conclusion, whether that's him regretting on the ship, whether that's the family, like, I don't know if it's televised or just like them seeing a missing persons report. I don't know what it is. Like, I don't really need something like that with the family, but maybe having something to where maybe you don't get closure. I don't know. It just feels, it felt very weird. And it honestly felt like the story wasn't written for him to have a family, because I mean, even at the end, he's kissing Jillian goodbye and like going through that very sweet moment or whatever. Like, I'm gonna go do this. You know, it feels like Roy should have been living by himself and maybe like really close with his sister or something, and so she would come by and like check on him. You know, and so she could have been that other voice that his wife was portraying in this one, where she's like screaming at him and like, you're going too far. You know, maybe she picks up the phone and finds out that he got fired instead of his wife, and like maybe it's something like that, because he's our protagonist. He's our main character, and seeing him go through all that made him very unsympathetic. Made me like, you know, I kind of hope this guy doesn't.
Yeah, I'm not rooting for Roy.
Right. And so
in the middle of the movie, until his wife leaves, and I'm like, you're not destroying her life. I don't really care.
Right. And so that's why I'm like, at the very end, do I need a scene of him regretting it? It's like, no, because I don't think he would. And that would be almost more dissatisfying, you know, seeing him just be like, oh my gosh, I made it on this ship. Like, I got what I wanted. Now I miss my family. It's like, dumb. Yeah, pay attention. Look up every once in a while. He's just bumping into everyone that he gets near, because he's just got his head on. I was going to say in his butt, but I don't know why I hesitated. But it's like,
he who
so
hesitates
gross of you
is
to say.
lost. He who hesitates is
That would have been
lost.
out of
Corey.
line. That would have been out of line for you to say.
But I don't need that, because once he's gone, I'm like, good. He needs to be out of here. Maybe something else with his family, but I don't really know.
I'm rooting for him. Once the family's out of the picture, I am rooting for him to get what he wants at that point. Because it's like, well, I mean, you already got the consequence. Your family's gone. The consequence, you've already paid for it. So now you might as well get the reward for the consequence you've already suffered. You know, like, so like, just go ahead. Go find the aliens.
So you think you're happy that he ended up getting to the ship?
I think it makes for a more. I would be curious about a moment where he chooses at that last moment they want him to come on and then he decides not to because of his family. But I think you're right, it would have felt disingenuous for everything that had come before.
100%.
Yeah, there's no reason.
Off of everything that we had already seen, I'm glad he gets on the ship at the end of the movie. Because here's the thing, I'm not saying it's the right thing to do, but I think the right thing for the character to do, not for the movie. For the movie, I think it is the right thing to do. But I think it makes for a very interesting movie in that regard, morally. I really do think it's not black and white. I think it kind of exists in that gray. Yeah. Because and I really like that. I mean, I think the movie does not shy away from how it's affecting the family, because I think these scenes are uncomfortable, intentionally so. And that's, like we've already said a million times, that scene where he's destroying, his house is hard to watch, and his family leaving him in that moment, and the firing and all that. But I do think the movie kind of does still have sympathy for Roy, and I do have some sympathy for him, even though I'm getting frustrated with him. Very frustrated with him, and I understand why the family leaves him, and I think his wife makes the right decision. There is still something there with the way the movie treats Roy and Richard Dreyfuss' performance, that it's like, I don't think you're a bad person. I think you are in the middle of something that is just
too big.
I don't know. It's too big for you to find your way out of with everything still intact.
I do think there's something to be said. What if there's something built in like little sequences with Jillian, and he's like, he sees the look on Barry's face and he realizes kid needs a dad, but he also sees this childlike wonder because Barry got to experience this great thing that he himself wants to experience. So you have this counterpunch of, do I stay for them, for this kid and this woman, or do I go and try and experience, something new? It's a second chance and a second chance, and it like back to back, but we don't really get that, if you can add that point. I think his decision to go, his decision that this is something he needs to do, brings in that bit of melancholy that I think would have made his choice a little more bittersweet.
Yeah. I do think I'm very happy that Ronnie is not like, even though we complimented her, Annie, in Field of Dreams. I love that character, and I think it works perfectly for that movie. If she's an Annie type of character in this movie who's like, well, I don't understand it, but yep, let's do it. Like, job be damned. Like, let's go find the aliens. I kind of like.
I'm gonna go watch
Ghost
play baseball.
I like how uncomfortable this movie is because of the family dynamic. I actually really think that's one of the strongest aspects of this movie, is how watching because it really tries to have its cake and eat it too, and it's such a weird mix of like it does retain that like, oh man, isn't this incredible, these aliens, and like how beautiful this is, and like how magical this is for Roy, and it does not undercut that at all at the end. While also, like we've already said, just like, yeah, he is mistreating his family and putting them in an awful situation. I kind of like that mix.
Is it weird that I think if Annie and Ronnie switched places, there wouldn't be that much of a difference in the story? Like, I feel like Annie would also reach a breaking point around the same place Ronnie would, and I feel like Ronnie would still be on board with.
Well, that's the difference, because yes, there is a key difference there, and it works in Field of Dreams, because what Kevin Costner is doing in Field of Dreams is he's making a very risky financial decision to chase something that he thinks is really important to him. But what Roy is doing, and that's drawn out over, weeks, months in Field of Dreams, like him building the field and whatnot. What Roy is doing, he is having a chaotic breakdown of a week, a mental breakdown of a week.
Yeah.
So it's more concentrated, and it's in front of the kids, and it's scary, and it's unexplainable.
Yeah.
But it's also like, he's not like, he just clearly he might need some help, but it's not like he's going down to like the dog track every weekend and blowing like $900. This is Indiana, man. I mean, I'm not gonna say like, I would assume.
Not the Indy
I don't
500.
know. I don't go to Indiana.
This movie is about how graded the aliens are, actually just a metaphor for the casino, and how this movie is all about how you need to abandon your family and go to the casino.
Any last points about Roy before we move on? Because there's something else I wanted to talk about.
I did want to ask, in terms of probably the worst neighbors in television and film history, where would you rank Roy? Because Roy is out there destroying his neighbor's yard. Her chickens got loose, man. He took down that chicken wire and her chickens got loose.
It's a moment of weakness for Roy, but I have a feeling if we really looked at the history of movies,
I don't know enough
and
about
what
Neighbors.
the stuff that
That movie Neighbors
happened to adjacent living people to a certain house. I mean, the first thing that comes to mind is like Disturbia with Shia LaBeouf. That's a worse neighbor. That's a worse neighbor by a wide margin, I think.
Delta Psi. Very bad neighbors.
I'd rather have Roy as a neighbor than the frat. Yes, for sure. Now, Neighbors 2, where it's a sorority, I don't probably still no, but it would be different.
If Roy was like this every single week, like if that's my life, like I'm just reliving Roy being this every single week, then yeah, he'd be up there. But if it's just like one instance, then
I'd be more concerned than mad. I'd be like, this guy probably needs to see a doctor. I wouldn't be like, I hope he rots in hell for taking my chicken wire. It's his own house. Besides the chicken wire, it's his own house he's destroying.
Yeah.
So like, and he even says, "I will pay
value."
He even says, "I will pay you for the chicken wire." Still not cool, but like, I mean, it's a bad moment. But
he's really not trying to be that bad of a neighbor.
Yeah,
he's
I
still
think he means
thinking.
well-ish.
I just
did you
thought
guys
it'd be
before we
like
move off
a
of Roy?
fun-
Did you guys pick up on that Cardinals opening day reference halfway through the movie with the Clydesdales commercial on the the Budweiser Clydesdales commercial? I forgot.
That was like
I must have been aware of it
thing.
at some point. I forgot that they had lyrics to that organ song.
Oh yeah.
Because like the second they start singing it, I was like, oh, this is the organ song from the opening day.
That's not the Cardinals
the
thing. That's like
It's
Budweiser.
But Budweiser is St.
Yeah,
Louis.
yeah,
And even
yeah,
on the screen in the commercial, it says brewed in St. Louis Mo. I was like,
Yeah.
we're famous.
For beer.
We matter.
And then it goes right into that I love that moment where he is actually calling, he's like really starting to get some perspective. And he's like, maybe I am crazy after he's made this whole model of this giant mountain in his living room. And he's like, he's calling his wife, like, take me back. I'm sorry. Like, I'll do whatever.
Then it breaks off the top, and then it's all downhill.
It's after she's already left, right?
Right, and then it's just, but on the
phone.
news, it's like they're showing the Devil's Tower, whatever, and it's like a perfect model of what he just created. And he has no idea yet. It's just like, oh, he's trying to go back to normal, and you just know the second he sees that TV screen, it's like, oh, he's gonna full send in a second. Like this is exactly that's gonna set him on that path. But yeah, I'm done with Roy. Yeah, Roy's
okay.
We can close the book on Roy.
I wanted to talk about the scale of this movie because it's hard to not compare it to.
I was curious.
Yeah, so it's hard to not compare it to other movies, and I understand like it's also the time that it's in. Like looking at it compared to Jaws or E.T. specifically, both those Jaws and E.T. are much more contained movies, right? One with Jaws, the threat is very like it's against this one town, and I think he does a good job painting it as a threat for one town. With E.T., it's very like close knit. It's within a small group of people, right? So it's not like this whole big conspiracy.
Oh my God!
I said, slow down.
God.
It's not like this nationwide conspiracy thing that E.T.'s got going on in it, and that's not its story.
It's a neighborhood.
That's not its story. It's trying to tell either, and so I think it does that. It does that very well. And this movie, it feels like a global issue that people are dealing with and that people are trying to face. I don't want to talk about it anymore. Moving right along.
No, Corey, I think you bring up a good point.
I didn't even bring up a point.
It's not like it's affecting.
You don't even know what my point was.
I only made a face because Cole winked at one of us for some reason.
Yeah, he's just making today all about himself. I was saying I don't think this movie did a very good job capturing the scale of it all. Because even when you had the government side of things, it felt like it was a very small operation on the government side until you get towards the very, very end. And like the local governments, everyone was denying it. I don't think that was because they were like, we got to keep this under wraps. It felt like they honestly did not know. you know? And it's like, this thing is huge, and it is like, you could see it affecting clouds. You could see it, like, it makes a big deal, you know? Police officers were chasing this. It became like a whole thing in this town, and they're still saying, like, you guys are crazy,
In a
you know?
small town, though, I think that is a big caveat. If this is happening in New York City, I do think it's international news.
I
But
think,
since
But
it's in
it
a
happened
small
in-
Indiana town, and all the witnesses are like sound crazy in the meeting, where he's like, "I saw Bigfoot," you know,
Yeah, that guy
like
didn't
I
help
think
anyone's
that's
cause.
why it's getting like brushed a little bit under the national rug, and it's not like this is happening everywhere. It's happening in the
See,
town, and then
but
in
they're in-
India, yes, the India thing is like, okay, they've
And in Wyoming.
remote locations. None of these are huge cities, and this is pre-cell phone where everyone would have videoed it
That's
and would have
fair.
spread. You
That's
know,
fair.
like wherever someone would have videoed it and it would have spread. But this is just like, in a village, someone said he saw this. Okay, my grandpa said he saw like the Loch Ness monster. You know, it's not gonna be that huge of a thing. The government knows because they have the proof and they have the technology, but I understand why, from the public perception, it's isolated to just a few people who had this, you know, close encounter and then become obsessed. I understand it from that perspective.
I think there's a good comparison to be made with a film like this and then a film like the movie Signs.
Dude, yeah. I definitely was like, this Signs took from this for sure.
Yeah. So,
Never seen
Corey,
that.
have you ever seen Signs?
No. It looks
it's
scary.
great. Oh,
So,
it is
Signs
really
is
good.
an M. Night Shyamalan movie, but it
Might be his
takes
best movie.
place.
Might be.
Yeah. I mean, Unbreakable and Sixth Sense, and
I think it's better than Unbreakable. Sixth Sense might be better, but go ahead.
but anyway, so Corey, the premise is this farmer.
Do not spoil this movie for me.
Premise, Corey.
I understand.
He starts noticing crop circles in his corn, and we get the perspective slightly of other occurrences around the world, some that are on videotape, some that aren't, but it keeps it within this small town and how they and this household about how they are experiencing this like phenomena. So I'm not saying that I think Signs does it a lot better, and I think Zach might agree with the fact that they do it better because they bring in the fact that there is a sort of paranoia when stuff like this happens, like especially because it also does take place in the 90s, so Shyamalan was able to use like the whole 24-hour news post OJ that was really going on at the time where people were really just trying to get ratings, which isn't a thing now. I mean, as we know.
But the big difference there, Cole, I see your point, and I do think they are similar. Like I said, I think Signs does take a lot. The biggest difference there, though, is it is happening all over in Signs.
Yes.
So it would be unavoidable that people would, I mean, it starts slow. We're like, yeah, okay, sure. Eventually, you know, a few days into this, it is news. It's on the news, and people know that something is going on, and it builds really well to that. And I think it's done really well. And that is a more sinister movie. That is a scarier movie than this.
It's definitely a horror movie.
I accept that, and I think for the first half of the movie, it being more of like, this is a small town, it's not gonna be national. When we cross the threshold, Roy loses his family, he's on the road, he's going towards Devil's Tower, and that whole process, it still feels like at that point, it feels like we're shifting more into like how War of the Worlds is, where it's like this big thing that's going on, militarized city, you know, and I know they're trying to keep it under wraps, but I don't know, it just feels like how much under wraps it is and how much people are buying into the alternative story that they're giving, it feels a little bit unrealistic to me. And I just don't know. When we get to that point, I feel like at that point, the scale that they're trying to portray, which I think they are trying to portray more of a scale with this mass exodus from this town. They're telling everyone to leave and you have all these cars leaving. I still don't really feel like it's this big event, but I feel like it's trying to be, and it's like on the edge of like either being a small, more not niche, but small, just I don't know, a smaller story as opposed to like a huge bigger story. Like World War Z is this huge bigger story. this War of the Worlds is this huge story
It
that
is
has to do
everywhere
with
in
all
those
of it.
movies. That is the difference. It is everywhere.
I
These
know.
are remote
Here
locations.
it's
These are
like-
exact coordinates given by aliens. These are coordinates given by the aliens to
I didn't
meet.
like that
They
part.
want to meet here.
And this is also, I think, we have to put into perspective, this takes place in 1977, likely 1976, because that's probably when Spielberg wrote the movie. This is a different era of information movement, I don't think, your local news.
So maybe I'm judging it poorly again. Like maybe I'm judging it against today's time as opposed. And I accept that. And I think that might be a flaw in how I'm judging it. But I'm just saying, like, I don't think with how I interpreted the scale building towards the end, I don't think it necessarily captured that scale.
But I didn't think it was like a huge scale. I
I
thought
think
I felt like it was trying
the
to.
greeting of the aliens felt, I don't think this word really encapsulates it, but it felt like an intimate thing. It was like,
I agree, Cole. Perfect word.
they were greeting. I can't find a better word, so I think.
So my
intimate
question,
That's fine.
is,
No, I think that's a great word for it. Yeah.
I think the verbiage is fine as well. I think you captured what that moment is. My question is, why was it like that? Because it didn't feel like the only part that felt like it was intimate, as you were saying, are just our cast of characters being there. Like that's the part that made it feel intimate. But if you are getting, it looks like it's the U.S. Army. You built this entire compound right next to the Devil's Tower. Specifically, it looks like all this equipment is specifically for that. It's like, why is this not a bigger deal? Like why? Like I
What
can
did
understand.
you need? What were you missing? What did you need?
I just don't know. It just didn't feel like okay, you have all this equipment there, and then it felt like you had 30 people? It didn't feel like they were able to capture what they were trying to portray. Because with the equipment that they had and all this, like the story that they were telling with the military being there and like them searching the mountains, because they were like, we have to get them out, and if we can't find them by a certain time, we're just going to gas the entire area. We're just going to, like, we're not even going to mess with it because we can't. And so, like, it raises the stakes. It feels like it's this big moment. It feels like more of the government at this point knows about it. And it's still, Cole, like you said, I think it's right term, it's very intimate. It's still the characters from the very beginning. I feel like as this grew, as more evidence became available, as they're like, oh my gosh, we're receiving coordinates from space, how did this not become bigger? How did this not become like it get more characters involved? I don't think it, and obviously they bring in more resources and because they built up this entire area, but it's just like, but it's still like the same four guys.
Counterpoint to your argument, in sci-fi films where the government is trying to often spread misinformation, as we learned from films like E.T., shows like Stranger Things, they are kept in a smaller vacuum. They use smaller crews. I think Stranger Things is like what we used to think that these movies did in like sci-fi things. They didn't take over like these towns. We've kind of been spoiled by films like Super 8 where they do actually do that, but that's not really what happens. It's a case-by-case basis, and they keep it in kind of these small nets. I think if you look at a film like Mission Impossible, you go from one person to one person because one person knows everything, and that is a more accurate portrayal of what happens with like the spread of things like that. You keep it in these small circles, and I personally felt like there weren't 30 people there. I felt like there were at least 100 extras.
I did think there were more than 30. I did get a
maybe 30 up front to greet what I assume were children in alien suits, but
yeah, that was a tough look.
I definitely felt like there were more people, and I think I didn't see it that way, not to disagree with like the way you saw it, but I didn't see it that way because I like view it as my dad tells me stories about how they learned stuff in the 50s. My dad was born in 1957. He tells me stories about stuff like that. It was very slow rolling, if anything.
You're right.
But again, this wouldn't even be that though, Cole, because the public is not supposed to know. So that's why they're that serious about gassing it, because they don't want to have a loose thread. Because what if this went bad? They don't want people being like, the government fumbled an alien in our first interaction with a higher life form. That's what they don't want witnesses to this. They don't want, people, they don't want X factors and other variables, non-government people who could be around to mess it up. So and the fact that, yeah, even if it was only 30 people there, as opposed to the big equipment, you need the big equipment there because of, what you're dealing with. And like, you're trying to communicate with aliens. So you're using this giant sound system or whatever. But like Cole is right that I think even within the government, it's not like every U.S. senator was going to get a call, but like, by the way, we're meeting aliens. So you're going to want to keep it as small as possible.
And I understand.
So that's why I
never
think the
got.
scale
I'll be there in 5 minutes. Jim.
I just never got the sense that this was something that they were trying to keep like super duper under wraps. Like I got the sense that like the government, as they're exploring this, they were like kind of excited almost, there was like this, my gosh, like we're taking a step forward. Like they didn't necessarily say that, but I kind of got the sense of that's what this meant to them. And I kind of comparing it to like space travel, like when a rocket launches, like when you're in the initial planning phases, like yes, there are people involved and like those initial scientists that are involved in like figuring all that out. But as you get closer to the actual launch, it's like more and more people. It's like, this is a moment. This is a big moment. And you're like potentially having an encounter, first contact moment here.
Close encounter.
Thank you, Cole. But you're having all of these like this big first moment, and it feels like it's just like, oh, we're just gonna let this random scientist guy that was on it first have the moment with them. Like I feel like if it kept growing and it kept becoming like, oh my gosh, there's more and more evidence, this is gonna happen, they get to the point where they're like, okay, we're almost positive something's going to happen here, so much so that they built an entire compound at this area specifically for something to happen here and to speak to aliens. And they don't have like diplomats, they don't have like something of some sort. Like I know it's getting a little bureaucratic, but it's like here's what I think the issue is. I think the issue is that this movie made me ask too many questions.
That is fair. And I think if you come away from something with more questions than answers, that can be a little annoying. Yes. And I feel you there.
Because there are movies that we've talked about where it's like, you know what,
it's very cut and dry.
But not even that, where it's like
dry.
I'm not saying it's cut dry. I'm saying there's been movies that we've talked about where it's like, okay, this didn't necessarily answer every question I have, but like I had enough fun. It like took me on the ride that I wasn't worried about those other things. Like the longitude and latitude, I wrote that down because I was like, I don't buy that aliens understand longitude and latitude and can't speak our language or can't understand our language. Like, how are they going to understand like that's even what those were? And how are they going to know how to say that to us? Like, and I understand you're like, oh, that's nitpicking. 100%. It's 100% nitpicking. I think that's like also gets into the scale of it all because this movie just made me ask too many questions. Like, where are the diplomats that would probably be on this mission when it gets towards the very end and we have first contact? How do they understand longitude and latitude, but they weren't able to understand what like language was? And like, what was the whole point of the notes back and forth when we don't even really understand what was going on, and they don't even really understand what they were saying to him?
What
exactly? It's just nitpick stuff.
Well, I guess that's like the difference. I just was never even asking what are they talking about because that's just not. I don't think that's what the moment was trying to. I don't think the moment was like, what do you think they're talking about? I think the moment is just what are these people feeling in the moment, and it's like. I felt watching that movie. I was watching that scene at the end where they're exchanging these musical notes.
Yes.
With just how any person would be in that crowd not knowing what they're saying. Like, this is like beautiful. Like, I don't know what it is, but like, I don't know exactly what the back and forth is. Whatever the conversation would be, it probably would not live up to whatever expectations
are you
have.
doing today?
I'm not saying they need to do that. I'm not saying like, oh, I want an explanation for that song. I'm just saying like, that's kind of how I got to this point where I'm like, I'm complaining about the scalability. I'm complaining about that they understand longitude and latitude for some reason. They were able to comprehend that, but then we weren't able to have this we didn't know what this conversation was about or what these notes meant. It's like, it's making me ask too many questions. So I don't think it took me successfully.
I have a quick little counterpoint. This is a quote by Galileo.
I like that you guys liked it. I'm not saying you shouldn't like it. I'm just saying like that.
Well,
it didn't successfully take me on the ride that it wanted me to go on. I didn't think that moment was beautiful. I thought that moment was confusing.
okay, fair. But your argument with the longitude and latitude, there's a quote by Galileo where it's mathematics is the language with which God has written the universe. So and that's just a quote to say, there are certain things that are universal.
And I understand that. And I fully expect them to have some sort of like alien number system. But the way that they were able to interpret that's what those things were. One, somehow find out that we had that, like a grid system of some sort, and then also know that that's what those things were. They were numbers, and then be able to translate that into theirs, and then say like, okay, we need to find that specifically there on this planet, and then translate it back into theirs, and then transmit it to them. That's what
Ryan Gosling found a way to make the translations of Project Mary, and I bet you thought that was really cool.
He did. He did do that. But
and
anyway,
that's one guy and one alien. But I'm sure you thought it was awesome. But whatever.
They
make a whole conversation and are able to save the world together.
It didn't make me ask as many questions. I was along for the ride and having fun. You know.
Okay.
This one,
fair enough.
I think I have another point I would like to bring up.
Okay. Not about
Zach
this.
asked a question, and I think it's worth asking. What do we think happens to Roy on the ship? Because
I don't. But that's the thing I asked the question as a joke. I don't want to know. I don't want to know.
I bring this up because we have pilots from 1945 from World War II that have been missing. They are A, delirious, B, have not aged, and C, they were not willing participants in whatever was going on.
We weren't there when they got abducted. I mean, look at
It
Barry.
was-
Look at
it
the
was
child.
40s.
They seem
It
to
was
not have
mean?
known. They
What
seem
does
to
it
not
is
have
the
known.
Cole? What does it was the fees mean in the context of whether or not they were willing to get on an alien ship? That doesn't make any sense. I think with Barry, the child, I think for one thing, I think the scene where he gets taken plays a lot differently if he's scared. He's not scared. The mom is scared. He is not scared. He is like excited by it. Like he wants to go with the aliens. He's crawling out the door toward them. And he's like welcoming them in, you know, and opening the door and all that. I think it's very possible that everyone who went with the aliens wanted to go. And so I don't think the guys coming back from, you know, the 40s are like, oh, that was awful. I think they're like, wow, I'm back home. This is crazy. That was a wild experience. But I don't think they're like coming back traumatized from the experience. I don't think they were up there getting probed for 30 years.
No, I wasn't trying to say that. It's just they kind of look like they're in this fugue state. And for some reason, they're coming off the ship like single file. So it begs the question,
soldiers,
what, you know, and I think that's just one of those fun questions that we can ask, like, what do we think happened? Where do you think the ship goes? I thought it was worth asking. Obviously, I'm stupid.
Yeah.
So let's move on.
I really liked the design of the ships.
I like the design of everything in this movie.
Yeah.
I thought it was
mentioned
so
it in
fun.
passing early, but I think this movie is I think the strongest aspect of this movie is the look of it. I really do. But I'll talk more about that in a bit. Maybe you'll see. But for the MVP section, a little preview there. But I think the one thing I'll say before we move on, like to the next section, is specifically about that scene. First of all, in terms of a couple sequences that I think are extremely strong in this movie, I do think Roy's encounter, I think setting up that
close encounter.
You gotta stop.
Yeah, I saw that coming. I think setting up the spaceship thing with the car being like, oh, you're in the middle of the road, and he has to wave the car to go around him.
I wrote that down too.
That next part where the lights come behind him and they just go up.
Yeah.
That and no music. Yeah. No music. So many great moments in this movie are no music. And I think even though I think John Williams' score when John Williams' score shows up, it is strong, but it's used well. And Spielberg knows when to not use it. And that is one of those moments when that thing, the lights just float above him. That is such a good moment. It's like one of those, I listened to a podcast episode about this movie the other day, and like they mentioned, like that's probably one of those moments in the theater. Like they compared it to that moment in Sinners when Jack O'Connell's character, when Haley Steinfeld's walking toward the camera and Jack O'Connell's character is like behind her and just kind of gently rises off the ground with no music cue there either. and just the crowd reaction. Like the crowd reaction is the music cue in that moment. Like, you know, like that's one of those moments where those lights rose above Roy's ship, or his car. So I think, for one thing, I just want to say, highlight that sequence, and then the mailboxes and all that. Either way, that whole scene done really well. But I think the scene where the child, whatever his name is, gets taken from beginning to end is gorgeous and extremely intense. And I think when we talk about Spielberg, we're talking about this with Jurassic Park specifically. I think he has got some of the best just sequences in movie history. Like, yeah, I think D-Day gets a lot of attention in Jurassic Park specifically, like the raptor scene, and then even more so the T-Rex Jeep scene, like that initial T-Rex appearance. I think we talked a lot about the truck chase in Raiders, the bridge scene in Temple of Doom. You know, he's got a ton of these. I think the pond sequence in Jaws was one I brought up. I think this scene where this Barry, or I think his name's Barry, this 3-year-old gets abducted.
Yeah, it's Barry.
I'm not going to say it's the best. I'm not saying that. I wouldn't say that. But I do think this should be in that same conversation with all of them when you're talking about how this guy, you know, he might be the GOAT for the reason. Like he can put together in a very intense sequence. And I think even though this is not a thriller by any means, I think this is just kind of a sci-fi drama, that I think that scene is one of his most intense sequences he's ever made. And I think it's incredible.
Think it's also worth mentioning, this is one of, and I'm looking it up, he wrote Fabelmans, AI, Poltergeist
rips.
Close Encounters, and Firelight.
Not a lot.
Is his, so he has some story credits too, but this is one of 5 screenplay credits, and he wrote this one all by himself. So he had carte blanche to do whatever he wanted.
All by myself. Yeah. I think it shows, Cole. Especially since you mentioned Fabelmans. I think watching this movie after watching Fabelmans changed the way I watched Roy as a parent in this movie. And I do think Spielberg is working through some things, his own upbringing with his own parents, with this movie. And I know there's like a clip out there, like a famous clip out there of like he's getting interviewed at like at a Q&A. Some guy's like, well, your dad was a computer technician, your mom was a musician. At the end of Close Encounters, how do the aliens and the humans talk to each other? And like Spielberg's like, oh, thank you for saying that, because I hadn't realized that, but you're so right that those are my parents at the end of that movie, and I never even realized it. And that's a really good clip out there. I like people probably pretty easy to Google, but I do think watching this movie with the knowledge of the background of his parents and like kind of the way that, I don't remember if it's the dad or the mom, like left the family. But the mom was having an affair. I know that. Mom. I think the mom is having an affair. I think the mom leaves in the movie, but I want to say the dad is who left in real life. I'm not actually sure on that.
Is that right?
I'm not positive, so don't quote me on that. Either way, one of them left.
Who abandoned Steven?
I think having that knowledge does make this movie even better, just knowing that it comes from a very personal... This feels like a very personal movie when you're watching it. Because it does have all those Spielberg trademarks, like, you know, just from a directing standpoint in terms of the awe of it. And then also I think he does crowd scenes really well. I think we talked about this a lot in Raiders with like the government officials talking over each other when they're explaining like the Nazis are looking for the Ark or whatever. And I love that exposition scene in Raiders. I think this movie does have a lot of Raiders of the Lost Ark DNA. And like there's a lot of that here. Like I think the scene where like the air traffic control people are like talking over each other as they're like thinking like these two flying things, like the plane and whatever else might collide, this UFO, and the way that more people crowd around the air traffic controller as the scene progresses and they talk over each other. I think that's a very Spielberg scene, and it reminds me of like Raiders and stuff. So it has the Spielberg trademarks in that regard, but it also has like that personal touch of just his own life, I think, is put into the DNA of the story. So I do think it's very Spielberg. It's a very Spielberg movie without it really catering to like the childlike aspect that he goes for with like E.T. or like, you know, like you said, Cole, like I think that one's similar in that regard, or Hook, or I don't know, any of those.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you guys about the alien at the very end. Aliens at the very end.
Creepy
there's a few
one.
of them. They all there's like 3 different types of aliens at the end.
What's going on there?
I saw the long-limbed one, and
but then he disappeared.
Thought Alien. So for some reason, my
one.
brain went to Alien Romulus.
Explain.
At the end, you have the engineer xenomorph hybrid at the end of Alien Romulus.
Yeah. I know.
That's what it made me think
Yeah,
of.
Yeah. But he like disappeared.
Yeah, where did he go?
What do we think?
I think he went out there and he made sure the coast was clear, and then he waddled his ass back in there and said it's fine now for the 5th grade girls in alien costumes to come out. And I think
I saw like 2 of them slide down the ramp.
Those were like probably like kids having fun that day.
Here's the thing. I read, and I have to double check this, but it would make sense, that Spielberg wanted it to be like, this is not one species of alien that showed up, and that multiple aliens have visited other aliens in space, and this was like a conglomerate of different types of aliens that were looking around to meet other types
of coalition
planets. And I'm like, that is really interesting, and that it would explain why they look different from each other.
And I kind of wish that lengthy guy would have stayed out a little bit longer, you know? Instead of
would you like it more if he like
hobbling
looked out and then like turned around and like did his arm like, come on, and like it's all safe out here.
Come
like
on,
the way
kids.
like you know like Glinda in Wizard of Oz is like, you can all come out now, and all the Munchkins waddle their ass out there in Wizard of Oz.
Well, you know, I thought all the other aliens were the same, because I know they did an animated one at the very end, like to say goodbye.
I love the way that one looked. That one looked great, and then I think the initial one looked great with the little puppet one. I think, and I think the middle one with all the girls and the little children in costumes. I think those
for a fact they were girls.
Zach knows.
I think I read in one of those things that said like it was a bunch of like 5th grade girls in costumes or something.
I believe it. I mean, it wasn't like it looked like they were trying to hide it, but I think like it was. I had the lights off, and I think I could see a little bit more. They definitely had just masks on, and like the eyes just looked wonky. Like they were just printed on eyes. It was just funny, you know, when you're trying to do something like that. But anyway, it makes sense that alien at the very end that they were doing hand signals to. I thought like that was just the same. In my head, I was like, oh, I guess that's just the same species. But I mean, it looked very, very different.
Could be a little, yeah.
So that would make sense.
Yeah.
I wish he would have done a little bit more with that concept.
Mm-hmm.
That would have been really cool if you just have a whole bunch of like 20 different types of aliens all come out. I think that would have been cool. But I have one.
Go ahead. Sorry. I said you go ahead. If you said you liked something, go ahead.
No, I was just talking about the aliens a little bit more and like how I like the ships,
yeah.
and that part of it really.
Ships.
I think
when they would all just like start spinning around, I was like, oh, that's really
the
fun.
deviation from the classic UFO look into something that's honestly beautiful and welcoming is a great choice.
You think that big one's welcoming?
Dude, it's got all these bright lights. It's like, come on in.
Is that
the
a city?
The casinos.
That's what I'm saying. It's the casino. This is why the essay to be written is how the aliens are a metaphor for the casino.
And I think we'll talk about this with E.T. E.T. ship is a little darker. You know, it's a little colder,
dark and grungy in there.
Whoa.
It's not as welcoming as these ships. And I think the choice to do that, and this goes back to the whole protagonist antagonist thing, it's like these of the third kind, they don't want to be the villains. They want to be welcomed, you know? And I think by having a ship that is bright and colorful and fun, they're saying like, we're here to party, guys. Let's go.
I don't think that's why the ship is bright. I don't think they did that to let them know that we're here to party.
No, I like it.
Fair enough.
I like it.
All right, sure. Let's run with it.
It says, I said that poorly, but it stands to my point that Spielberg wanted us to be like, he wanted us to welcome these guys. He did not want us to be afraid of the aliens.
Yes, I do think the design is intentional to not look like an intimidating, scary ship. I do agree with that. Even though, I mean, another thing that I know, Corey, you brought up that you were kind of like you were more confused than curious about like the music communication thing. That's fair enough because I don't know the logistics of how it would work, but I do want to say that they're like. And another note you had in here is why do we think we get the scene in India besides like what's the point of the sound in India besides the cool set piece? I will say I think we established that they communicate through sound and music, tones or whatever. I'm fine just accepting it at that face value. And I think things can be in movies just because they are pleasing. And I do think that for me, the music thing is very cool.
It's
and
pleasing.
unique. And I think that shot, I think the India scene is really cool. I mean, you do acknowledge it's a cool set piece in your note.
No, it is. It's very cool.
I think when they're all doing that tone, that, you know, repeating that melody, and then it's where did you hear this? And that shot of all their hands pointing up at once.
That's very cool too.
That was legitimately distilled into 1 second. This is movies moment for me. I was like, that was great. That was so good.
That is movies.
And it reminded, you know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of the final shot in a movie that we've talked about. The final shot that ends with hands going into the air at once in the foreground with like the main character in the background.
Breakfast Club.
My big hint is, hail to the king. Hail to he who has fallen from the sky to save us from the Deadites or whatever. That's how Evil Dead 2. When Evil Dead 2 ends with all the hands like going like, hail, hail. And like that, the last shot is exactly like that, which I really enjoy. But Corey, my last question is, and maybe you don't know because I'm not actually sure you've seen this movie. I know Cole has, so I'm going to go to Corey first, though, because I'm sure Cole will be able to answer it. What animated movie does a parody of the final scene in Close Encounters very well?
What animated movie?
This, but I can't.
Parody of the final scene.
They're going to communicate with the aliens, and they bring out a keyboard.
Rick and Morty, right?
No,
it's a movie. No,
Stephen Colbert is the president.
Yeah, Stephen Colbert is the president. And he says, dun, 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 dun. Something like, yeah, so now you get that reference now. Isn't that fun? How that's full circle for you.
That's good.
So, that's a good bit.
Stephen
I'm
Colbert.
done. I don't have anything.
Side note, I was rewatching that with my dad, and there's a scene where we were watching it with Annie and Tessa, and
I was just picturing you and your dad sitting down recently to enjoy a good Monsters vs. Aliens rewatch.
But there's a very funny sequence where one of the aunts explains she has one thumb that's shorter than the other, and she's trying to grab at a handle, and she screams thumbs. And me and my dad were laughing about it, and Annie and Tessa were just laughing because kids are funny. Let's go to the review section.
No, God, is this your first time?
I never do the announcement.
Well, I'm going to ask you a question that I called Sam about earlier, and I called him because I thought he was one of the only 2 people who could maybe answer this for me, and he couldn't do it, but he knew, but he was in the same boat as me. He's like, I know there's a movie like that, but I can't think of it. There's a scene in this movie, Close Encounters, that's where they're watching Looney Tunes, and Marvin the Martian is on the screen, and it's like, haha, funny, it's a little cartoon alien, and this is a movie about real aliens. And I'm like, I know I have seen this before in a movie where someone is watching a cartoon that is depicting a friendly cartoon version of whatever the real life threat is in the movie. And I'm like, God, what is that other movie? And for the life of me, Sam was like, I know there is one. Sam was like, I definitely can picture that, but I can't picture what it is.
Can I offer a suggestion?
Yeah.
I feel like it's got to be a dinosaur movie because I feel like I remember the Flintstones being but it wasn't Jurassic Park.
That Sam was like, maybe it's Jurassic Park 3, and I'm like, no, I don't think it is.
But I feel like I remember the Flintstones.
I feel like it'd be Jurassic Park 2 if it was anything, because you have the daughter in the trailer and she's watching TV.
She's a teenager, you know? It's like a little kid watching a cartoon, I think, in my head. And there's a little kid in 3.
It's Jurassic Park 3 as they're getting attacked on the river. The kid's watching Dumbo or Barney.
That's not what it is, though, in my head. Maybe I feel like it's a cartoon, like it's an actual cartoon, but maybe that is why Jurassic Park 3 popped into Sam's head. But I don't know. I just asked you because I thought here's the thing. My other theory was, but I couldn't picture it exactly. I was like, maybe it's another Marvin the Martian thing. Like it is Marvin the Martian again in another alien movie.
I don't even know.
And I'm like, maybe it was like Independence Day. You know, like I don't.
Yeah.
I say this thing, it's so niche that it's hard to look up. But I don't know.
Yeah.
Thought I'd pose a question because I thought maybe I was like, Cole's the only other person that maybe could pull it out of his ass and like tell me what it is. But I know there's another movie like that. But
in popular culture.
While Cole looks that up, we are going to move on to the awards season.
Apparently they strayed off course, and we're fairly certain they're in guerrilla hands.
So why don't you use the regular army? What do you need us for?
Because some damn fool accused you of being the best.
Would you look at that on first on?
it's amazing how that happens.
That's great. That's great. I am going to
fantastic.
go with one of my favorite parts of this movie. This movie was visually very, very appealing.
No.
I really
No.
loved how this movie looked. We talked about, I know I had a big complaint, but the first thing I said right after that was like, I just loved how the alien ships looked. That scene, or whenever he's getting captured, or whenever Barry's getting abducted, even though he's going with them willingly, that entire scene and how it looks is incredible. So I'm going to go with the cinematographer, Ilmos Sigmund, I believe how you say his name.
That's how I say it.
I think
That's not a real name.
I think he just knocked it out of the park. It was incredible. That was, like I may have had my complaints, but that was nowhere near anything like that was holding a lot of the water of this movie. So I think that is the reason he is my MVP.
I agree, Corey, and as I hinted earlier, that's absolutely who I was going to pick. Didn't think you'd pick him. I thought you'd just pick Spielberg or something.
Well, we
Or
can't
Richard
pick Spielberg
Dreyfuss.
for the other ones.
Right.
And I didn't like
you're
Roy.
saving. Oh, well, I guess I'll have to make the sheet really early then and make sure that I get them. But, yeah, I do think, here's the thing is, on my letterbox, I had said that Schindler's List might be the best looking Spielberg movie, and that might still be the case, I think. I think this is easily top 3 best looking Spielberg movie. I'd have to think about what the other one would be besides Schindler's List, but this movie is directed so well in terms of just the sequences and the way that it looks, the design of all of that. Big fan of it. So yeah, just piggybacking off of that.
100%.
But I guess since you took him, I will. Well, goodness gracious. I guess I'll just go with the man himself then, Steven Spielberg. Like I said, this is just this feels very Spielberg, and it feels, it has all his trademarks while also being personal to just who he is as a person. So like you can feel the fact that he wrote this and directed it. And you can just see the DNA, like I said, of other movies that he did after this, like including Poltergeist in terms of producing and writing that, and maybe directing it. I don't know. I feel like this does have a lot of Poltergeist DNA, E.T. DNA, Raiders of the Lost Ark DNA, like I was saying. I think you see a lot of all of those in this, while also this movie feeling completely unique, apart from those, just tonally. Like I said earlier, like this movie is made for adults. This is not like Raiders of the Lost Ark that's like, oh, kids and adults are gonna love this fun adventure. It's like, no, this is not that. This is something very unique, and I appreciate that about this. So I'm gonna go with Steven Spielberg as the writer director of this picture. It's my MVP.
I'm going to go Richard Dreyfuss.
From Jaws.
From Jaws, yeah. Yeah.
Thought so when I saw it.
Another
My
Spielberg
God.
film. Are you serious? He didn't recognize him.
You
He
made this
didn't
whole
have
movie without realizing this was the Hooper from Jaws.
Dude,
2 years after. 2 years after. This is his first movie after Jaws. This is Spielberg's follow-up to Jaws. And you just didn't put 2 and 2 together.
2 certified bangers back to back.
I know, man. Then there's just 1941 in between this and Raiders. If you'd take out 1941. Whoops.
Corey, your house is on fire.
Oh, that was me. It's because I
Zach,
It's because I had my candle burning. It just couldn't.
But I think Richard Dreyfuss makes us empathetic for a character who otherwise kind of doesn't deserve it. I mean, Roy's obviously not a character, like we discussed, that you really think about rooting for, but somehow I ended up rooting for him to get what he wanted. And I think a great actor can bring that out of a character such as this, and Richard Dreyfuss is a great actor. From what I've been told, not a great person, but Richard Dreyfuss is my MVP of Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
Ooh, the review section
says that they insist on outside opinions.
What kind of opinions?
Well, your kind, not to put too fine a point on it. I mean, let's face it, in your particular field, you're the top minds.
Okay, I tried to do something new. If it sucks, If it sucks, let me know.
Okay.
Okay, do you guys know the song I Want an Alien for Christmas?
Yeah, you guys really ate that song up on the Guardians thing.
That song's really good.
This summer, there's something I'd really like. So if you're up there somewhere, Stevie, please don't bring me another flying bike. I don't need any historical dramas, and you don't make movies about basketball. But there's something kind of special that I want most of all. I want an alien movie this summer. Bring me an alien movie this year. It can have a little green guy about 3 feet high with 17 eyes who knows how to fly. I want an alien movie this summer, this year. 4.35 out of 5.
5? Is that what you said?
4.35. Here we go.
Don't make movies about basketball.
He doesn't.
Yeah, don't limit
I
him.
hope there is just a completely out of nowhere, doesn't connect to any other part of the plot basketball sequence in Disclosure Day.
30 minutes of it is just
Disclosure Day. Disclosure Day is actually it's
Just
not really about
because-
aliens. It's just about LeBron announcing what team he's going to play for in 2010 or whatever. It's about
someone
the
needs to
disclosure.
tell that story.
ESPN's the
Okay,
disclosure instead
first
of the decision.
Okay. An adventure in life and a mystery of life beyond. Welcome to the House Full of Dirt, Little Green Men, and Singing in the Desert movie that gives you the chance to ask yourself, should I also abandon my family? 3 out of 5.
Wow.
I hate this guy.
Egregious. Dude, if you give E.T. anything less than a 4, I'm flying to DC.
I'm scared about E.T. I'm scared. What
I've
Corey's going
seen
to say
E.T.
about
before.
E.T.
It's been a while.
Man.
I didn't
Okay.
say anything bad
He's
about
just
it.
so negative.
I said it's a positive movie. It's 3 out of 5. That's over
Okay,
what I would
all
say to
right.
recommend it. I don't know if I'd watch
Spielberg
it
has
again.
a close encounter with his second all-time classic film, but he'd have to wait till he unites with the guy who made the other 1977 movie about space to get it. 4 out of 5. You get what I'm saying? I'm saying it's close to another all-time classic, but it's not there. I think it's a great movie, but he'd have to wait till he does Raiders, which is, to get his second all-time classic, which is 4 years after this, I believe.
On to the post-credit scene.
You're still here. It's over. Go home.
1981.
Okay, looking at the schedule ahead. Okay, if you made it this far, you're interested in what we have to coming up in the pipeline. And as we mentioned last week, we are going back and forth between Steven Spielberg Alien movies and Toy Story. So last week we just covered Toy Story. This week is Close Encounters. Next time will be Toy Story 2. And that one is streaming, thankfully. After that, the next Steven Spielberg movie we'll be doing is E.T. Beyond that, I don't want to bore you. We're going to keep doing Toy Story. I'm not going to go through the full schedule. We're going to keep doing Toy Story, and then
You can
we're
figure it
eventually
out.
going
You
to
can do the
watch. Yeah, we're going to eventually watch War of the Worlds. But that's kind of the
Math is universal.
look ahead. So we're going to do Toy Story 2 next, streaming on Disney Plus, I believe. I think all of them are streaming on Disney Plus, so go ahead and watch that one. But in the meantime, Zach, what have you been watching?
Oh, you're starting with me? No.
I can
I
start.
actually have... Yeah, go ahead.
I've been watching a lot of shows. Invincible, I can't talk enough about. I don't say this lightly. I might be caught up in the moment. I think this might go down as one of the best seasons in TV history. I think this season is so good. There's been one episode where I'm like, I don't really need that. But I think that episode in a different season of a different show, like the same kind of quality,
is still probably really good.
it's still probably really good. But when you're comparing it to probably the best season we've gotten in this show ever, like it's not gonna look as good by comparison. This show is so good. I kind of know what's happening, and so maybe I'm a little bit biased because I've kind of been through it. Cole, have you read the comics?
I have not.
So you're
but
kind of just going through it. What do you think?
Yeah. It's so I actually watch a guy who like breaks it down, who's like read like the omniverse of Invincible, which is like the whole thing. And he said he feels like everything Kirkman does is to make a mistake that like he didn't like when he wrote the comic that he could fix with the show. And I've heard the show like does some really good things. But I just finished episode 7 this morning. I specifically woke up early for work so I could watch it before I drove into work. My goodness.
It's so good.
Great television, man.
It's so good. I'm going to be upset when this season is over. But you know what? When it's over, I'm probably just going to rewatch it. Other things I've been watching, I've continued my Friday the 13th saga. I just watched 7, so I'm on Jason Takes Manhattan is next.
Talk about
So I'm
it.
looking forward to that. Didn't like New Blood as much.
Jason vs. Carrie. It's pretty much
Versus
Jason vs.
Carrie.
Carrie.
When?
Have you seen Carrie?
The girl that
You know what
climbs
the
out of
movie
TV?
Carrie?
I haven't seen it.
No, that's The Ring. Carrie is the girl who has telekinesis, who messes up everyone at her prom.
Yeah.
So it's pretty much a telekinesis thing. Jason versus girl with telekinesis, which,
the New
like
Blood.
I said, every movie from 6 on has a gimmick that you can be like, oh, that's the one with blank, you know? Jason Lives, oh, that's the one where he comes back to life. Oh, that's the one where he fights Carrie. 8's the one where he goes to Manhattan. 9 is the one where I don't even want to spoil it for you because your reaction's going to be like, oh my God. It is,
oh my gosh. I can't wait.
Flabbergasting what they do in the 9th one.
I'm really excited. Especially since you said this is probably the worst one. I'm so excited.
I think 8 is the worst one. I do think 8 is the worst one.
I'm so excited. I also watched Weapons in Begonia, so I'm catching up. I'm catching up on things.
Zach, what?
I did completely rewatch Game of Thrones for the season 1 for the first time since season 8 came out. So I'm finally dipping my toe back into the show. Like I said, I've been reading all these books and stuff. Like kind of I reread the first book and just pretty much done rereading the second book. So pretty much done with that now. I did start Dunk and Egg, or the Night of the Seven Kingdoms, I should say. Loved the first episode. Excited to watch more of that. Just Sir Duncan is just about as likable
in the show.
The first episode lived up to how likable he is in the book, which is why the book is so different from everything else, all the other Game of Thrones books, because it's like you're not jumping around from different perspectives. In the Dunk and Egg book, you're just like, oh, I'm just Sir Dunk. I'm in Sir Dunk's head, and that's it. And I love that. And he is so likable, and it's a lot of fun. And the first episode of the show, I think they nailed the casting with both him and Egg. Big fan of it. So yeah, great first episode there. Really loved going back into Game of Thrones because I did it because Madeline, finally I showed Madeline. I was worried that she really wouldn't be into it, but she said, yeah, sure, I'll watch Game of Thrones. She hadn't watched it before, and we watched the first episode. It was kind of late, and I was like, I'm not sure how she felt, but and then I was like, all right, bedtime, and then she goes, no second episode, and I was like, oh. Like that's what a relief. I was really tired. I was ready to go to bed, but I was I was so happy to just nurture that. And she's been going on with we finished all of season 1 while I was in town, but she's been going on without me in season 2, and I'm struggling to catch up because I want to watch certain episodes together, at least over FaceTime, start at the same time.
You gotta watch Blackwater.
That's
together.
what I told her. She literally finished 8 today, episode 8, and I'm like, I just finished episode 5 yesterday, season 2. I'm like, God, I gotta watch binge 3 episodes so I can watch Blackwater with her this weekend. But yeah, I do want to watch Blackwater with her. So yeah, I don't know. I had a great time. It's just damn good TV. This is so good. Just watching season 1, it's like, this is a great show.
I think I'm in season 4 of my rewatch.
And
4
Zach,
is the peak.
wasn't it?
I think 4 is the peak. I think 4, they got enough of a high budget and they figured out the formula, and they are still just sticking with the George R.R. Martin source material while making a few small tweaks for the better. I think the changes they make through the first 4 seasons, they're not a lot of them, but what they do, I think, are actually for the better, actually.
What's a big one? One big one.
The first one that pops into my head is in season 2, Arya becomes Tywin's cupbearer. And in the book, it's Tywin. She never interacts with Tywin at Harrenhal. She actually becomes Roose Bolton's cupbearer after Roose Bolton takes over Harrenhal. And those scenes are not a lot of them. There's the scene with her and Roose Bolton is kind of interesting in the book, but I think that her and Tywin is much more interesting. So,
yeah. Okay. Cole, what have you been watching?
God, I love those first 4 seasons of Game of Thrones. Did want to say that. I went and I saw the drama. I wish I brought my beanie because there were so many scenes there. I just wanted to go like this.
Oh, I'm excited.
Put them away, Zendaya. Stop it.
No, you don't see anything.
spoilers. Oh, let me go in at least hoping. God. You just stomped on the optimism.
And it's just because Robert Pattinson dug into whatever awkwardness he had, and it is on full force through most of this movie. That being said, really liked it. I might go see it again. Or nah, I'll wait for it on streaming. But I've also been watching The Boys season 5.
It's not doing much for me.
I think we're back to the formula in like season 2 and 3 that really made me like fall in love with the show. Like the first season, I'm like, okay, I'm here for it. 2 and 3, I'm like, okay, this is.
The most recent episode kind of turned me off of it.
Don't get into specifics. I haven't started it yet. Though I already did get the first episode spoiled.
But
I got the first episode spoiled for me because I didn't even realize the show had come back. And I saw a little clip on my timeline with two certain characters in a certain situation, and I was like, I don't remember this scene. And I was like gonna watch it to like refresh myself. Oh wow, I really don't remember anything about the last season.
I should rewatch the show.
The Twitter timeline.
I definitely would have remembered that. It was like,
yeah,
I
have to
spoil the
wake
end
up.
of the first episode of
I have
season 5.
to wake up early because my Twitter timeline is basically flooded by about 12 o'clock when I go to lunch with like all these spoilers. So I have to wake up or X, whatever. And then Daredevil Born Again. Big fan of Daredevil Born Again.
I've seen it. Not going to.
More like Daredevil Bored Again. Oh, no.
Zach,
No.
This last episode was probably the best and closest they've got to the Netflix show, though. And it's
not very promising.
Really...
I wish I could just consume it all in my head and have already watched season 1 so I could just go to season 2. Because at this point, I would have to just restart season 1 of Born Again. I didn't finish it. So, or season 4, season 1 of Born Again, whatever you want to call it. I'd have to restart it.
Yeah, it is a pure continuation, and it's probably best form of the Netflix show, I would say. But
well, that's what I wanted, but it just didn't. I don't know. I'm not gonna say
now it's Born Again.
Kind of close. It was hard winning me back after that first episode of Born Again. I was just like, oh, that just
because of the thing.
It just screamed, oh, we want to restart the show with a clean slate. Kind of, hey, look, it's connected to the last seasons because look, technically it's the same characters, but also let's just kind of clean house and start fresh. And it was like, oh man, it really kind of pissed me off a little bit.
Yeah,
but yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'll get to it. There's just, I don't know. It's not high on my priority list, but I'm sure it's fair. Good. I'm sure it's good. And I will watch The Boys. I will watch The Boys.
Sorry. You don't have to.
The other thing I did watch is Super Mario Galaxy movie. I didn't think it was that good, but it did make me want to play the game.
You're just so cool.
You just pay this $25.
Because I went and saw Super Mario Galaxy. That makes me so cool.
No,
it makes me better than you, actually.
No, you're cool because you didn't like it.
Liking things is just cool.
You're cool because you didn't like Close Encounters of the Third Kind. That made me like really attracted to you. It was hard to really keep my composure during this episode.
Close Encounters isn't made for 10-year-olds. Anyway, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. And join us next time as we cover Toy Story 2. Until then, just keep watching movies.